Okay, so shall we get this on the road? So, recently we've been going over a few tutorials including game art and coding. So now it's time to put a bunch of it together to try and create a fully functional game. Get it up and running. So, kick it off. So, what we're going to learn: state machines, what are they, how they work, enums, super useful, creating scriptable objects, they're going to handle your events, implementing a personal event system, actually utilizing those events we just created, coding an event manager script, more to do with utilizing them, accessing functions, utilizing buttons, the UI associated with events, get some interaction going, and then assembling it all together. So, game example, just watch and enjoy. This is roughly what it'll look like when it's finished, if you follow the same idea. Oop. Can I play? Yeah. This is in fast forward mode. And that's the game for you. That's essentially what this game will look like when finished. Simple, but nice. So, state machines. State machines are essentially flow diagrams, just different states which usually loop back into each other, which allow the game to actually have some base logic, or to follow a pattern. So, group of actions or events follow a sequence, all linking together. There should never be an unreachable state. Similar to flow diagram, usually if you only have one state machine, it can only ever be in one state at a given point in time. And just controlling the logic of the game. So there's a example found online relevant to our tutorial. This is pretty much the entire state machine that happens throughout our game. So game intro, your main scene, moves on to roll dice, which, well, handles rolling. So dice results, calculate move from that. So waiting states, so player move, event to finish, player to move as a result of an event. So check for event either goes to show dialogue, or it can go to change player. If it goes to change player, after that it's roll dice again. Show dialogue goes back into the waiting state. That kind of a little bit quick, but slightly more detailed this time. So first, game intro, roll dice, dice result, grab that, chuck it to another function to calculate the moves. Player to move, check for event on that spot where it's moved to. If there's no event, change player. If there is an event, then show a dialogue, hence the buttons come in handy. Then the events to finish. So waiting for the event to actually finish. Okay, awesome. Sorry about that. I'll just chuck under technical difficulties. So, state machine. Not sure what went through this, but I'll just repeat it. So, state machine, group of events or actions that follow a sequence, all linking together. Pretty much the same as a flow diagram. State machine can only be in one state at any given time. If every single state should be reachable does not mean there are states which are dead ends. So you can have dead ends. In this case, the full state is a dead end. However, it is reachable. Every single state must be reachable. Basically used for the logic of the game. Link at the bottom if you want to find out some more. So this is an example of the state machine that we've got for our game for the tutorial. It's a game intro, roll dice. Then you've got a whole bunch of waiting states. We've actually got 2 enums in place within our state machine. So while we're in the waiting state, we've got another enum to categorize which part of the waiting state. Nested Inception. Sorry, couldn't resist. You've got a couple of different states on the side: calculate move, check for event, show dialogue, change player. One thing to note is check for event has 2 outputs, so show dialogue if the event turns positive, if there is one, or change player if there is no event. So just to follow the sequence: game intro moves to roll dice, then while we're waiting for a dice result, once that's finished, calculate move, back to player to move while we're waiting for that. Once we're done, check for event. Is there an event on that space that we've just gone to? If there's no event, go to 7b, change player. If there is an event, then show dialogue for that event, finish off the event, and then player to move as a result of the event. Reading, eh? Yeah. Then back to change player. Either way, it ends up as change player, then roll dice. Just might take a detour or not. Enums, useful. Clinton's already covered in previous coding tutorial, but it avoids using magic numbers. So wherever possible, it's a great alternative if you're holding information within the numbers. So our state machines are based around enums. Makes it easier to understand what state we're in. Scriptable objects. Data container can be used to save large amounts of data. It can't be attached to a game object. It has to be saved as an asset. That's one of the differences about scriptable objects compared to normal scripts. So used for organizing, duplicating, or storing duplicate data, and just storing data in general. Link at the bottom if you're interested. So how we're going to use it. So to create a scriptable object, just create a standard C# file in game. Got to replace mono behavior, so example column mono behavior, replace that with scriptable object, and insert code. That's the create asset menu name, whatever you want to call the menu, / whatever you want to call the type of object. So in our example here, random name / script object. You can name it whatever, but helpful to make it somewhat descriptive. So now comes the task for you guys. So you're going to make a set of events when they land, for players when they land on grid locations. Not all grids, hopefully, unless you want to create some spice. In our case, we're going to give them 2 options according to the event. So do we accept, do we stop accepting, reject, stop accepting. Or you could go left or right, or whatever you want to think of. Do we fight, do we run, do we negotiate? You choose. So in this case, we're going to need a title. We're going to need an event description, if you have more than one type of event, in our demo further back we had question marks and swords. So in that case we'd have multiple types, one for a question mark, one for sword. But you don't need to. For each event, you're going to give them options, multiple options. So for each option you need a result description and a result. So in that case we're doing 2 options. Example on the side. For our task, it's helpful to have the right types associated. To make things easier, public variables are best. However, if you want, private variables are also an option, but you're going to have to create some functions to retrieve those results. So, are you up for the challenge? Before I leave you to it, extra info, so different public, private, but then there's hide in inspector public and serialized field private. They're almost the same, just whether it's visible or not within the inspector. That's pretty much the only difference. Shot for that. Yeah. So once you've created let me go in game to give a little bit of help. So we've got event manager here, which we're going to use later on. At the moment we're worried about the event script. So currently it's event mono behavior. There's 2 functions inside. Let me open that up, make it a bit easier. These 2 functions, we're not going to need that because this isn't mono behavior. We've got to change that to scriptable object. And then remember what was mentioned further back in the slides. I need to go to it because I've kind of forgotten a bit. Scriptable object here, and then create asset menu with a name, and then whatever you want to call it. Here we go. So that's what you want to change it to up top, and then add in your own whatever you think's appropriate into that. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that. In the meantime, I'm going to go check out chat properly. So I'll leave it on this page for a bit. Okay, that should be enough time. So back to where was I? Creating events. Or maybe I'll actually go through it. Why not now? Where's the harm in that? So this one, we don't need this. So let's get rid of that. Mono behavior. Scriptable object. What are we going to call it? My mics really don't like me. They keep shutting off. So, event here. I suppose that'll do. So, we don't need capitals, public, string, title. So check out Discord if you have any questions. There's people there to help. feel free to make the most of their time. So we want a title, description. Ooh. Oh. Pineapple. So for this one, I want a slightly bigger area for description, make it easier to read. So chat anywhere for help. There's people. We're humans. We're here to help. Public. What was the next part? What were the other fields we were interested in? It says type. So public enum. What am I interested in? Public event type. Pretty sure I got that one wrong a bit. Right. Question mark. So, the ordering, not entirely sure if it matters, but these two definitely do matter. So I'm going to chuck this below, get a little bit more clarity. So title, description, what else? Public, string, we're going to chuck it as option. Oh, let's go first. Option. For every option, there's a option description. Again, I want this one to be a little bit bigger to put in input. Should make things a bit easier. Sorry guys. And I forgot. There. Ooh, nice and big. I hope this is easier to read. First option. Let's actually give this a result there. Public int. We're going int this time. Option. First option result. So what's the output from it? And again, rinse and repeat for at least description. Second option, we want a text area. Actually, make it a little bit easy on me. Second option, result description. Feel free to make shorter names as long as you understand what's going on. So that should be our event done. If we want to make more types of events, I can add sword, pineapple, whatever else we want in here. But in this case, I'm going to stick with one, just one type. Yeah, not exactly the smallest names, but they work. Some people prefer to have underscores in all lower cases. I prefer ever so slightly shorter. So, if I can spell, I do it this way. So, now that that's created, let's go back to Unity. So, I've got a lovely events folder when it responds with the update. Got a few events here, but let's create our own. Create pineapple event here. That's what the top field allows us to do. So pineapple 1. So description, first result description, second result. Notice the enum up top. Useful. So first ever accept or reject. What to do. So first option, accept, give it a name, or reject for the second option, or you could do it left and right, or whatever else. Great. Here's head start. Up to you. Do as you please. So first option, let's go 5 spaces forward. Second option, you'll leave the head start. So that's your first event. That's it. Okay. Back to slides. Where were we? Creating an event. Oops, I'm ahead of myself. So just showed you a little bit how. Right click, create, whatever you called it, and whatever you called it. So yeah, make it whatever you want, whatever description you want for it. So accept, reject, left, right, fight, run away, negotiate, ignore, whatever you want. Be creative. So if you're ready for it, feel free to create a few of your own. I'll leave you to it for a bit. So hopefully that's enough time to come up with something. So event manager. Now we're going to the heart of this part of it. So script takes care of all the event system, not the Unity itself, for the board game. So a couple of things it does: spawns icons, it handles checking if the players actually reached an icon which has an event, reach a grid location which has an icon representing an event, handles the UI displaying of the event, handles the responses from the event, i.e. which response the player has selected, and a few other things which I've missed. You'll get to see that if you look through a file, that is. I will admit that the win condition has been set up almost completely. There's 1 or 2 lines to add to finish it off. I'll leave that to you to figure it out. Left some hints behind, so shouldn't be too hard. So, event manager. This is for you guys. Current event manager is incomplete. So, complete the missing parts. Most of the framework's already set up for you. So 2 main functions which you need to worry about. So first one, display event. This handles what you actually see. It also grabs information from the event, the one which should be randomly selected from the list that you should hopefully have created a few from. Once it's done that, displays here the result from what you select, player option. That one. That would be second option, first option, the results of that. Hang on a minute. No, sorry. Under canvas, can I zoom in? On the left hand side, under canvas, is event panel. In there, there's option 1, option 2, and outcome OK. Each one of those is a button. On the side here, you can select on the right hand side in the inspector under on click. You can drag along the game manager from the hierarchy, drag that over, and then you can select the function. So event manager, select option. You're going to need that. That will handle the output of that button. So that links back to select option, which is under event manager. Where are you? Oh, too far down. I was right at the top. Select option. So that handles the player option. So for the first button, option 1, select option will give a positive for the boolean. The second one, option 2, is set to, it's not ticked, so they will set a negative. As a result, it's got some more functions at the bottom. So option 2, it sets it as inactive along with option 1. We've added those so that they will no longer be shown when an event is run. If you select them, they will continue to stay active after you've selected your result from option 1 or option 2. Okay, where were we? It's a little demo of what someone's created. So buttons, just went into it a little bit. To finish it off, the useful UI tools. On the hierarchy tab, that's where they're located. Love the buttons. Apparently if there is no canvas already, a canvas will be created for you to house the buttons. In this case, the canvas is already set up, so you don't need to worry about that. Yay! So right click in the hierarchy, go under UI and there'll be a button. This was covered, I'm pretty sure, in the first tutorial we've had this semester. You'll be able to find that back in our Twitch channel or on YouTube, pretty sure. Without doing what I mentioned earlier, they do nothing. So seeing as the select option was just mentioned, that handles what the actual buttons do. So I want to refer to select option within the event manager. Event manager rather than the practice, because we've changed it over. So we do have a fully functional game. We've just removed a few things, spiced it up a bit for you guys, give you a challenge, make sure you actually learn something. On click, we need a few fields there to handle the actual displaying and results over here. I pretty much already covered it. So on click, so drag and drop your game manager from the left hand side into the inspector window on the right hand side under on click, and then from that you can select a function from it. So don't forget those checkboxes. They allow to actually pass variables across. So when it happens, that is set to true. On set active, the result will be true. If you have set active to accept integers instead of booleans, then you should have the option to put in a specific number instead of just a checkbox, but booleans will be fine for us. So now that we've got most of the stuff out of the way, Blender, if you want to spice things up outside of the actual mechanics. I'm not actually going to run through it because that's a massive task on its own, but it's great for creating 3D or 2D objects. Yeah, you guys can read that. So specifically useful for creating our own assets. Let creativity flow. So a few tutorials if you're interested. You can just pause the video and copy them down or search for them online. When you export, you want to make sure it's FBX because that's the most compatible with Unity. It does support other types, namely object, but I don't, wavefront object is available, but FBX is the easiest to use in my opinion. So if you've got Unity 2019, you can save your Blender file within the Unity project and import the model directly. Changes get updated, but at the moment we're stuck with 2018. So if you do manage to get hold of Unity 2019 and use that for your projects, I would say that's the best way of doing things. However, if you're like me and you have multiple copies of files, 2018's method works just fine. Or should I say variants of files. You can modify it, save as a different type, different file. So you just import. So right click, import. The easiest way to do it is literally drag and drop your file into the project tab at the bottom of Unity. There may be a few, as Janos mentioned, they've got different axes. So make sure you've got it in the correct orientation in Blender before you import into Unity. That's one thing to one thing to keep in mind. So, referencing APA style, of course. Google for most of it. The rest was just screenshots. So, back to Unity. Seeing as I haven't quite finished up the demo. So, tutorial's done, the actual content. But now it's you guys' turn to make it. Or you can just watch me. So, in our case, we've hard-coded the locations for our question marks where we want them to spawn. So in this case, 2 through 9. These are the same equivalent options to events over here. However, this is for local to event manager, and this is just events. This is within the events themselves. So in our case, question mark icon, we've only got one so far. You'll need to create more copies if you have different types, more than just question marks. Again, you'll need to create a separate one for each type of option you have. So in our case, we're just worrying about question mark events. Ooh, win text, win panel. Boolean player win, hint hint, this may come in useful if you want to finish off the win conditions. So here it's set to false. Got to be true somewhere, right? That's enough hinting for now. So, current events. Event title. So what did we call it? We just call it title. Simple. Title. So, event description. What did you call it? So, option 1 text, the first option. So, first option, copy, paste. Option 2 text would be second option. So that's display event. Select option. Hey, almost the same. Just in this case, the missing fields. So for the option, the first one, so this was a yes. First option, results description. Let's go copy. Make it a little bit easier for you guys to see, follow. Event result. All programs are a work in progress. We all have their issues. Unity is no exception. Just referring to the chat. Twitch chat, the Twitch chat. The Twitch chat, that is. Bit tongue-tied there. So first option description, first option result, second description, second result. So, there's one thing I haven't shown. You've got your game manager on the left hand side in the hierarchy within the game. You've got event manager in the inspector. That's an added script, which was your lovely event manager, which we've just been working on. So in here, you need, in the game manager under here, the amount of events that you create. So in this case, question mark events, or pineapple question mark events. I've only created one, so in this case there is only one option. So let's create a few more. Pineapple 2. So title. Ambush. You are approached by a bandit who asks for your money. What do you do? Do you negotiate? Or do you run? So, negotiate. He loses interest in you and leaves you alone. Final result, nothing. You stay where you are, run. He chases after you for a little, then loses interest. Go back -3. So to balance things out, quite often it's a pineapple 3. Quite often it's a good idea to have two which are identical. Ambush, same description. This way, whatever people do, they don't actually know the answer, because if it repeats too often, you can just memorize which answer to do. So negotiate, or you can run. But here it's 0, -3. Let's go 3, 0. So you win the negotiation and convince him to help you out. Sorry, not win the negotiation. You are a smooth talker and convince him to help you out. Move 3. Or run and, well, he leaves you alone as he is too lazy for a run. Let's go -1 because you're still running away. Now that I've got 3 events associated, I go back to Game Manager. Question mark events, let's chuck in 3 because that's how many events I'm hooking on. So drag and drop your different events. Pineapple 1, Pineapple 2, Pineapple 3. This allows... Did I spell something wrong? Ah, I did. Pineapple. This allows the game to actually utilize them. Without that, they wouldn't actually be used, they wouldn't be recognized. So, I don't think I missed anything. These 2 are complete, so let's see what happens. Oh, before I do that, I forgot to go back to the main scene. Why did I go back in scripts? Scenes. If you want to start from the main menu, double click. Oh, I want to save my changes because I've updated that. So let's start the game on the main menu. Maximize so I can see. Begin journey. Roll the dice. 5. Move the player. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, there's an event. First ever. Accept or reject. What to do? I can't remember. Pretty sure number 1 was good. Accept. Great. Here's a head start. The result's been used. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4. Move 4 places. Next player. 2. Next event. 1, 2. Approached by a bandit who asks for your money. Now this could be good or bad. So, I'm going to negotiate. No, I'll just run. He's too lazy. But, you move 1. 1 backwards. Move 5 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna... Ah, awesome. Nothing happened. Stayed where I was. This is how simple it is. Negotiate. Oh, it was the same one. Back to player 1. Move 3. 1, 2, 3. No events. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, what's it gonna be? Ooh, the same one again. So, challenge for the experts out there. See player 4 in the top right corner. Change up the font a bit. Or change out the layout a bit. Maybe swap out the dice for a different one. Maybe change the player icons. Maybe get some different assets for the question mark. Maybe change up the board a bit. You could chuck a picture instead of a blank canvas. You could chuck a picture in the background of the canvas. Chuck some assets around the outside, make it look pretty. That's a common one. Oh, I've had enough for now. Going back to home, main menu, top right corner, and then quit. Not that it does anything in this mode, but back to here. So, now that that is fully functional, we haven't done anything for the win condition. Player 1. Actually, speaking of getting this to run to the end, I need to get past these question marks. After that, once they're passed, because there is no task at the beginning. Oh, that was a positive negotiate. That was a first. Once all the question marks are passed for all players, since there is no pause between each player to start rolling, it will continue until it reaches the end. So that's something else you could add. Have a pause between each turn, such as a roll button. Hey, it's your turn, roll. Then I can just leave it back while I check on the code, and then it should reach the end. Just give it enough time. So part of the trick here is finding the balance between the different scenarios you've given, different events. Finding a good range where it gives you a good balance for the game. Going back to start is definitely an option, but it can be somewhat unbalanced if you have more than one and not too many events. Because you might have an event around the 90s, go back to start, that'll take a long time to get back up. Yeah, I've had something similar before in other games. It wasn't exactly the most fun. Snakes and ladders specifically. So I believe all players are past that point. Just gone back to the scene window so I can actually see. Yep, all players are past the question marks, so I can just leave this to run. In the meantime, player win. What are we going to do about that? So, where's it referenced? Go to references, set the start, or it's event manager, player win. If player 1 is true, then there's a win panel. Go to definition, player win panel, returns a player, win panel says active, and there's a custom text with your player name and wins. customize it to whatever you like, but at the moment we have no way of getting here because our lovely win condition, players win, is never set. So where do you think is a good spot to put it? Have a think about that. Select option, not really appropriate because not in response to a button. Display event, that's in response to something. So check event. Oh, grid equals 100, player wins, return true. Else it handles the normal event. Also, if you have more types of events, you might want to copy this code over. Might want to copy this over with a different type of event here. So grid location equals 100. Here's a good spot to set it. So what was it? Player win equals true. When this happens, an event will happen. Check event. Goes back into game manager. Show dialog if player win, then win panel. In the meantime, they haven't gotten very far. Oh, yep. I think that's about us for today. Feel free to check out Discord and see our previous videos on Twitch. And for the rest, happy gaming, happy game making.